So this was the mailing that was sent to me. Of course, I'm gonna make sure that I protect my private information. All right, but this is who they sent the letter for. That's who they sent it to. All caps, fiction. And my response is coming from me, propria persona. Excuse the ink and stuff. You know, I'm just crossing out the private information that I don't want to display to the public. But I just want you guys to get a grasp of exactly what you're doing when you're sending in these notices, all right? It's just you're asking a couple questions, all right? You always want to fly your flag, all right, which represents the nation that you're from. The nation, all right, not the corporate state, all right? Because corporations can't deal with people, can't deal with man. We the people, all right? Make sure it's an affidavit format, 8.5 by 11. All right. Now, notice of discovery, and all notice of discovery is when someone writes to a corporation or an entity which is not you. So when this letter was sent to me, it was sent to the all caps fiction. So now I have to send them a redress of questions coming from me and my proper person. This is who I am. I'm not an all caps fiction. All right. Not to mention that when I looked at the contract that they sent me in the mail, or the offer, all right, there wasn't a signature. Now, this is the notice that they sent me in the mail. Of course, I'm going to cover the number for it, but the entity who they sent it to, of course, dear Reginald C. Jules in all caps, coming from Municipal Services Bureau, final pre-collection notice. It's a notice, people, not a bill. All right, so don't freak out about a notice. Okay? What is saying here? Blah blah. Tacoma Public Utilities, and do the payment. Public Utilities to help recover the debt owed. All right. And I'm not gonna go through the whole nine, but the main thing that before I dive into this, I just want you guys to acknowledge that there is no wet ink signature. There is no signature by a living, breathing human person that is taking responsibility for this claim. See? So there's no signature. So therefore, no one wrote you. I got this letter from no one. So no one is asking me or asking the fictitious corporation, Reginald C. Jules, to pay something. They want me to pay, or they want the entity to pay $44.63. But who's who? Who's they? I can't identify who is asking me all these questions because there's no signature on this. So that's why right at the top of my affidavit or notice of discovery, excuse me, let me get this right. I write on my affidavit or notice of discovery to Municipal Services Bureau, which is the third party entity which is claiming that they're collecting on behalf of Tacoma Public Utilities. However, you can't sell a debt. And once you sell a debt, that debt is no longer yours. So when Tacoma Public Utilities sold their debt to a third-party collection agency, Municipal Services Bureau, there was no contract with me and Municipal Services Bureau. The contract was between the entity. I gotta stop saying me, y'all. Stop referring to the entity as you. It's not you, all right? So that's why I asked in the first paragraph to send me a response in affidavit form answering my questions point for point under penalty of perjury with their wet ink signature to show me that another human being that another human being is taking liability for this, all right? So please mail to the borrower following certified and verified official copies of all related documents, or schedule a meeting and opportunity for the alleged borrowers to make a physical inspection of the following documents and enable the borrowers to verify and witness the same. This is a lawful demand and request under the rule of discovery and forwarded to your agency and agents. I circled here red because it's supposed to be to Municipal Services Bureau. So Enterprise Rent-A-Car, that was another entity that was coming after another fictitious entity claiming that I was that entity. So I had to check them on that real quick. But pretty much, to continue, a meeting shall be set and concluded Effectuate the above stated physical examination and witnessing within 14 days of the receipt of this notice of discovery. I gave them 14 days to respond. All right? And so the response they need to send me is an affidavit answering these 6 questions. All right? And there is no order or, some type of structure to follow. The biggest habit I had to break was following structure, because we've all been trained to do things a particular way and that there's no other alternative to it. All right? But once you begin to understand that you're the source of law, you don't have a structure. As long as you have the basics down packed, or the pretty much the center, you know what I mean? If you have a comprehension or understanding of the basics, the foundation, then you can go from there. Let your creativity take control and do what you do. All right? So these are questions that, I'm not gonna lie, these are like standard questions that all corporations are asked in terms of contracts. So, and I've been known to use these, and I've also, depending on the situation, I've added questions, my own questions that I think are valid. All right? So for one, the first question that I asked off bat is, produce the delegation of authority order from Congress, which grants this agency the lawful authority to operate commercially on the land. That's a big start off point. All right? Because before this corporation can even have standing for the alleged claim that no one sent me, all right, first they have to prove that they have authority to even operate commercially on the land. Make sense? So if you don't even have the authority to operate here, what the hell makes you think that you can mail entities and then ask for and try to recover payments in terms of debt? So no one is asking you to pay no one. That's what's happening here. The Municipal Services Bureau. I can't put a face on Municipal Services Bureau. Does Municipal Services Bureau have a family? Are they even human? I don't know. That's why I'm sending in these questions to figure out. All right? Produce the original promissory note, front and back, associated with the claim from your agency, entity, or persons to the alleged borrower. Original promissory note is another term for contract. I'm asking them for the original contract, front and back, associated with the claim from your agency. So I'm asking them because they're sending me something in the mail claiming that I owe them something. So I'm asking them to send me the contract that says that I owe them something. Right? Then I also need them to produce all bookkeeping journal entries associated with the claim to the alleged borrower. I want everything. All your notes, all the recorded phone calls. I want the whole shebang. Then I want the name and address of the current accuser or accusers of this alleged claim. I need to know the name of the person and where they live. Or where they, pretty much where they lay their head at night to rest. I need to know where they are and where I can locate them, because I have a right to see my accuser. Municipal Services Bureau is no one. Therefore, my accuser is no one. All right? Until they send me an affidavit within 14 days after they receive this notice and prove me otherwise. And then produce all witness statements under penalty of perjury who are a party to this alleged claim. So all their information that they got, and the person who put down this information, or the person who said that this is a valid debt, or this is a valid, this is a valid debt to go and claim, I want their witness statements under penalty of perjury. Because someone had to give someone the okay and say, hey, we're good to go. You can send this out to this entity and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can collect some payments. Because the debt is done already. Once Tacoma Public Utilities sold the debt to Municipal Services Bureau, debt's done for. They can't hold me liable because I didn't have a contract with this third-party entity. All right? And so this is pretty much the body of the questions, and then this is how I close out. This writ is the alleged borrowers honorable. Mind you, I said the alleged borrowers because they're assuming or presuming. They're presuming that I'm the all caps fictitious entity. So I have to make sure that they know that I'm aware that it's a presumption. Because if you don't let them know that that you're aware it's a presumption, then they got you already. All right. This writ is the alleged borrower's honorable and good faith attempt to clear up any insensate misrepresentations or confusion concerning resolutions in this matter. Before taking any further actions, I am prepared to meet with you or your authorized representative forthwith. Any further correspondence from this private corporate entity address me properly as Reginald Drews L. I will have counsel and witness present for the record. If failure of your company or officer of the aforementioned entity or representatives to respond to this lawful request within the allotted 14 days of receipt of this writ in the nature of discovery will be considered as an affirmation of disingenuous intent, and the said failure of response to the six above noted issues will be deemed a dishonor of this notice and demand for disclosure. Sincerely yours. And signature, thumbprint. And so I gotta send him the Angry Bird. Alright? Give him the Angry Bird mug. Now I should get a stamp and just stamp that right here at the end of every affidavit I send in. Let them know I'm mean mugging. I'm try again. Thank you, come again. Alright, so this is pretty much what the foundation of all notices are. You're asking questions. This is why when we were in school, the teachers used to get mad when we used to ask too many questions. Because it's not good for them when we continually ask questions. Because the more questions we ask, the more lies they have to create. And then the more, the more they have to do to cover their tracks. So they don't like when you ask questions because you put them on the spot. So all I'm asking is, when you got third-party collection agencies or any type of entities coming after you, well, not you, but coming after the state, coming after the ward state property, which is the name in all caps, which is on that state ID card, which tells you in the back is not yours, and if the state asks for it back, you have to give it back. So does that mean that it's your property? No. All right. So that's what it boils down to. You are not property. You're not a fictitious property. You're a living, breathing soul. You can think, all right? You can speak. You can feel. And you have a right to live and be free. As long as you don't, infringe on someone else's right to do the same. That's all it is. It's all about balance and harmony. So when someone's trying to come to your doorstep and bring harm your way, you got to be able to administer. You got to not be afraid to ask some questions. And guess what? If it was really that big of a deal, and if they were really legit, then they got no problem answering these questions. But most of the time I send these things out, the companies don't respond. All right? And when they don't respond, because you got to understand, what's taking place now, this is court right here. This is my court. All right? I'm asking questions here. I'm sending them a notice, and I'm asking them questions to verify that they are, that the entity has a rightful claim, has a right to claim whatever the entity is claiming to claim. The problem is the entity they're trying to claim some type of debt payment from is dead. The all caps fiction name is dead. All right? It's not alive. And it's not yours. It's the state's. So the state needs you to play a role so that there is a body to go along with the fictitious corporation that belongs to the state to begin with. It doesn't belong to you. Just read the back of your, if you don't believe me, grab out your state ID and read the back of it. Clearly says that upon demand or request of the government, you have to give it back to them. Okay? It's not your property. Why would you want to run around and do business with an instrument that doesn't belong to you? That's why these corporations can tax the corporate fiction name which you are operating under. That's why they can do all these things. That's why they can dip their hands in your pockets and take your money. You go here and you file for taxes, and you know that they took more than what they're attempting to pay you back. This is straight robbery. But it's voluntarily because you consent, because paying taxes is voluntary, if you didn't know that either. All right? So this is just part of the many processes of beginning, well, for me anyway, of beginning to reclaim or put my house back in order. All right? A couple years ago, these things would have stressed me the fuck out. Damn, bill's another bill. Here's another bill. Here's another bill. Now I'm like, bill, no signature. All right. Let me ask some questions. You see, because the creator is honored when you question the creator. The creator likes to be questioned. Why? Because it forces you to think. It forces you to use that same divine intuition that is the creator. The creator is nothing more than divine intuition, a cause to an action, and then the action that's related to the cause. That's the creator. So when the devil comes to your doorstep and you don't respond, that's a lack of responsibility, because you don't have the ability to respond to the situation. And then you choose to ignore it. You get something in the mail, and they say third-party collection agency says you have 30 days to respond if you feel like, this claim is not valid. 9 times out of 10, people don't respond. They just throw the letter to the wayside. Therefore, they ignore it, which is an act of ignorance. Because you're aware that it's there, but you choose to ignore it. Don't ignore it. Address it immediately, like any issue you would do when it comes to family. Address it, because the longer you let it do its thing, it's gonna grow. It's gonna get out of hand, and then it's gonna be an even bigger issue for you to have to deal with later on, when you could have just nipped it in the bud. So this is me nipping a situation in the bud before they even have a chance, because before they can proceed, they gotta answer these questions. With someone signing it under penalty of perjury, meaning that if they lied, their ass is grass, because I'm gonna get them for everything they got. All right. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. It's just the only difference between the 1%ers and the rest of the population is they know something we don't know. And this is one of those things. How to administer law, how to be able to define what's real and what's fake. Someone sends you something in the mail saying or claiming that an entity in all caps. And sometimes they don't send it in all caps. Sometimes they might send it to you in your proper person just to get the game going. But remember, even if they send it to you in your name, right? If there's no signature at the bottom, it's fraudulent. So do you want to participate in fraud? If that's what you've been doing by continually operating with that corporate name that doesn't belong to you. You're committing fraud. So stop committing fraud. That's why we're suffering, because we've been a party to fraud. So now that we know this is fraud, if we continue to operate knowing that it's fraud, then guess what? That's ignorance, and we deserve to burn. All right? Because even in the Bible it says turn from ignorance or turn from sin, and the etymology of sin is ignorance. So when God asks you to turn from sin, He's asking you to turn from ignorance. Why? Because my people suffer for a lack of what? Was it a lack of love? A lack of life? No, for a lack of knowledge. That's why my people suffer. That's quoted in the King James Version of the Bible. Can I tell you where? Nope, because I don't read the Bible. I don't live my life in a book. I am the book. And I'm creating my pages day by day, as you can see. Another page to my book I've created. Alright? So my people suffer for a lack of knowledge. So you need to turn away from ignorance, which is sin. And don't take my word for it. Look it up. Etymology of the word sin is ignorance. So turn from ignorance and start to handle your business and start to be able to decipher between what's real and what's fake.